Actually not. Of course, we have some would say, a very humble position during the summit this weekend. But I thought that we were capable of making our voices heard, especially in the press. So I'm very pleased. We didn't get the voices during some negotiation processes, but we were capable of working with a very productive cooperation with La Strada International and especially the Danish presidencies. We thank them very much, of course. So generally overall very, we see that's a victory actually.
Do you see some particular improvement in the final document compared to the initial proposals?
Yeah, so I thought about two things. The first thing was about the huge problem, especially with the violation in detention camps we've seen in Greece, and I understand now we have some sort of more monitoring and more surveillance in these camps to make sure that we stick to the human rights from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. So in that position we're very pleased. And also in the first draft from the Commission, their proposal about catching the migrants before they're getting into the EU's waters, and just catch them and that be able to send them back to Libya and back to their native countries, back to basically prosecution. So now they can't do that because that's highly against the Court of Human Rights.
I know you've been, as you said, working closely with La Strada, issuing common statements. So, Susanne Hoff from La Strada, there's been several voices raised of concern about the lack of focus on trafficking. Even the Commission's own expert mentioned that at the initial town hall meeting. And of course, Denmark and the United Kingdom in particular have kind of championed this increased focus on trafficking. Do you feel that your initial worries or concerns have been addressed by now?
Yes, we feel that they have been addressed to some extent, and we were really thankful to the Danish presidency that they were interested in hearing our concerns. And I think the amendment that has now been made to the proposal is a good start, as it states that trafficked people should be decriminalized and that legislation should be harmonized as well. But there needs more to be done, but I think this is a good initial starting point for further negotiations on this.
And our final expert, or NGO opinion maker at least, Mr. Bruno Gollnisch, representing the Alliance of European Nationalists movement and from Front National in France. You actually managed to get invited. You were not initially part of the so-called official program, but you were invited to at least state your opinion. Do you see your fingerprints reflected in the final document?
To some degree, yes. We started the summit being very terrified by the fact that the Danish presidency invited certain NGOs and interest groups as speakers and so-called expert knowledge at the table, and therefore indirectly suggesting a one-minded approach to the summit. But we see that we turned the battle around into our favor during the summit, and being able to influence the politics actually being made here.
But are there any specific parts of the final document that you can kind of point to?
We were very clear on the external border control, and as it says here in the final document that the Commission and the countries they want to establish these external border controls in a way that perhaps, or hopefully, we will find satisfying in the end. But it is a bit unclear, though, to which degree.
Turning back to the Commission, one of the issues that were very strongly emphasized at your initial press conference, that I felt were at least not voiced during this final press release, was the whole question of resettlement and a common sort of common pot of immigrants to be divided across Europe, governed by a board of national experts. Is that completely off the table now, or has it been moderated into something different?
Well, in terms of the meeting that I, as the president, held with the presidency, the leader of Helle Schmidt, we came to the conclusion that it was more reasonable, in order to reach an agreement, to leave out the whole idea of the resettlement system. Initially, the Commission considered it a resettlement system of well, to be honest, the asylum seekers, and then also a system to deal with irregular migration. So we came down to speak. We had to divide it into the asylum seekers and into irregular migration, and there were a lot of disputes over this resettlement system, and Ms. Helle Schmidt came up with the idea, in coordination with the Council, to establish this European Common Application System, asylum application system. And we considered the idea and decided to incorporate it into our final proposal here, if that was actually needed in order to reach an agreement.
But if resettlement is off the question, or off the table in its original form, what is the necessity of creating a common asylum system?
Well, the Commission believes that if we can't go, well, all the way now, we need to take it step by step. And we really consider the European asylum application system as a way towards this harmonization of the policies at European level. And we certainly believe that with this proposal in its amended form, we have reached, we have taken the step necessary in order to make Europe's position in the world far more vital, and we are more visible now, I would say, with regards to human rights, and displaying that we actually built our values is this human rights, social justice, for not just the European, but also for the migrants entering Europe. So this is just the first step here, and we believe that we have taken the approach to getting closer to a common European migration policy.
Also, the other main issue is, of course, these so-called safe ports. I assume that they are still a central part of the revised proposal. I can see you both nodding. So
yeah, indeed. Yeah, they are.
They still are.
Yes,
then, what particularly concerning those safe ports established outside of EU borders in third countries? First of all, who will administer them? And second of all, which type of rules of asylum, until this final common process is in place, which rules of asylum will actually be the standard in these third country safe ports?
Well, as I just mentioned to you right before, we initiated the entire proposal in dealing with migration as migration is, which means both asylum seekers and the irregular migration, which we also experience in Europe. But as I have, well, my experience is that the Council decision is actually to only deal with irregular migration, and therefore the safe ports here are to deal with the migrants trying to cross the borders illegally. Therefore, in your questions, you should not be included the asylum seekers.
Okay.
So maybe you would like to rephrase the question.
No, but it of course raises another question. What is the point of these safe ports then?
Well, the point then again is, and that has been our ambition since the very start, to actually deal with migration, and here irregular migration abroad. That means outside Europe's borders.
Is that something that raises concerns in Amnesty, since some of the countries bordering on Europe are still in uproar to the south, and both to the south and east some have, should we say, less than stellar human rights records?